Hey guys, welcome back to the Untrained Unprofessional Garage Workbench. So I've already started without you. I hope you don't mind. It was some things that you probably didn't need to see and I had to figure it out as I was going, so forgive me. But let's bring you up to speed. First and foremost, trigger guard. I've already reshaped this. Now, I'm going to post the video of how I did this on my Patreon page. So I got to give my Patreon folks, some extra stuff. So if you want to know how I did that, what kind of magic, it's like there was voodoo. I think a chicken nugget was involved, but that's on my Patreon. So visit me on Patreon, support me on Patreon. I appreciate it. All right. Let's talk about the stock. Now on the stock, kind of been playing with the stock scraper, just to see how it works and everything, and I think it's going to actually work out really well. But I've already taken care of where the bolt handle was impacting on the stock. I now have clearance, so yay for that. I had to take out a little bit of material around the trigger guard. Now, why did I have to do that? Well, the reason is because of this jig right here. Now this jig is by Score High, and its sole purpose in life is to help you to accurately drill the holes for pillar bedding. Now, it's primarily for the Remington 700, but from what I've read that it should be doable for the 721, 722 series, and it seems like everything is lining up, so that is looking pretty good. Hopefully things continue to look good. And well, things always look good until they don't, right? But I had to I actually chiseled out material just ever so little as I went around it until this finally slipped in. If that makes sense. Yeah, I took out material until that worked. Hey, piece of cake, right? So now how this works is that the system comes with these drill bushings, and it comes with a 5/8 drill bit that's specially ground. Basically, it's kind of like a mill, and it can bottom out at a certain depth, without having the little pointy end. And that is so you can stop short, like what I'm going to have to do on this stock. See how wide that thing is right here? It's about as wide or a little bit wider than the actual width of the trigger guard. Well, I can't drill all the way through with a 5/8 or it could blow it out and have all kinds of yuckiness. So I got to stop short, and I'm going to have a smaller drill out just barely bigger than this diameter for this little adjustable seat. So that's what my trigger guard is actually going to sit on. That's what I'm going to do. Well, I'm not going to use this drill bushing to drill out the smaller hole. Instead, I'm going to flip this over. Of course, I'm going to have to remove this, and I'll drill through coming this way. So that way I can control, or at least more accurately drill these two holes from the bottom side. And I don't have to drill a whole lot, so I just need a little bit. Then I can flip it around, put the jig back on, and use my 5/8. I've already taken the measurements on the front. I need to go to, and what is this? I think this is 2.14. I better double check the measurements. I should have wrote down which one I'm starting with. In the back I need 2.649. So, and that's going to be that's the minimum. I need to go a little bit more so that way it can have some of the bedding actually get in there and sit at the bottom. Okay, I lied. I'm going to drill this out first, then this one, and then flip to underneath. Because I already got the jig in there and I think it just makes sense. So I already have it taped up to the front measurement of 2.148, and we're just going to go slow. They suggest get this started on a high speed. Just walk your way down. Now, drills, they like to catch and really pull in, so I'm going to have to hold on to this. Honestly, my heart rate's up a little bit. I was pretty nervous about this. Wow, it wanted to grab there right at the last second. But I think we're okay. I went ahead, test fitted. The front one was pretty good. It fits just right below the stock line here. Well, the back one was actually still a little high, so I went ahead and re-drilled that really quick just to give me a little bit more depth so we can control how much epoxy or glass bedding goes in there, and it's now good. So I'm going to flip the stock over and I'll drill out the other side, and this part will be basically ready for glass bedding, other than I have to scuff up surfaces and all that, so the glass bedding has something to adhere to, because you don't want to have any oils or coatings or anything. You want it to go to fresh wood, and it'll give you a better bedding. I had said that I was pretty nervous about drilling those holes. Well, granted, I still have to drill out these two from underneath, but using that drill guide, so far, I am pleasantly surprised with how easy that turned out to be. It basically took a lot of the worry and the guessing and so forth out of it. So if you're ever in the position to where you need to do this and you want to buy a jig, that Score-Hide jig, it's money. Now, the one that I got, and I'll put up the part number, I think I got it from Midway USA. I'll put up the part number down here and where I got it from. I bought the whole thing, so it was like it had long action, short action, and a do-si-do and whatnot. So I wanted to have it. If I was going to spend, it was like the difference between like $170 versus $270. And I did not want to have to buy another part if I ever came across something that I would have to do, if I could even get it and so forth. It's better to have it, not need it, than need it and not have it. You know that old saying. So it was worth the extra money just to know. And plus, I did not know with what exactly I was going to need for this stock. And I've ordered wrong parts and stuff before, so overkill. Anyway, let's get back to drilling this out. I'm going to start slightly small and work my way up. Oops. I guess I should tighten it. And there we are. So there's the top one, and I can adjust the depth. You just get a little flat head and you just turn it until it's the depth that you want it. And don't worry if it's not 100% pretty, because when you glass bed, all this is going to be taken care of. All right, back from dinner, and I just wanted to get everything mocked back up just to make sure that everything was going to fit. And the nice thing is, this High Score, when you buy the pillar kit, they send you these little stock maker screws, so that way you can actually utilize these instead of running regular screws through to line everything up. It just makes it a lot easier. So, but everything is working really nice. Now, some of you may be asking, how did I come up with my depth? Okay, so measuring is really easy. What you want to do is get a set of calipers. You should have a set of calipers if you're messing with this type of stuff. Get a set of calipers. You can go old school dial, or you can go digital. Digital is easy, it's faster. So, but you know how to read one of these. Go ahead and put your drill bushing in your top tool, like so. And then you are going to just take a measurement, okay? And I've been getting 1.531. What you want to do is take your pillar, and you're going to measure from the bottom of the saddle to the flat and have the little insert out. So that way you get a true nice flat reading. It's not super critical, but you're going to over drill just a little bit so epoxy can get under there and everything. But this is so you can set depth. You don't want to have too great of depth or a tape marker on your drill bit and go too far. It's better to come up a little bit short, and if you have to, sneak up on it. So, but you're going to take your calipers and you'll take your measurement just like that right on your saddle, and you'll get on your front one about 0.617. And then you do the same thing for your rear and you'll get 1.118. So, and then you just add your tool plus your pillar and you get your total depth from the bottom of your action down for where you have to drill. Now I went ahead and I scraped the fore end and where the action is going to sit, so that way I'm down to bare wood, and therefore the epoxy or the glass bed will have a nice rough clean surface for it to adhere to. Now there are certain areas that have had years and years of oil that have leached into the wood, and I'm currently working on getting that out. And for the most part, I'm sitting pretty good, except for I was trying to clean out where the barrel lug was, because believe it or not, some stuff actually got in there. And I had sprayed it out with some brake clean, and I set it down here. And if you look here, you can see where oil has run and then kind of spread back out. So I'm going to hit this again, and hopefully I can get that down to bare, clean wood. Last night I was working on scraping this out, and I noticed when I would set the barrel in that the front end really wasn't even. So I evened it up because it was bugging me, and I could. And I'm refinishing a lot of this anyway, so All right, let's talk about where we're going to put in that fore end. Now, I was going to just go grab a piece of either a 1/4 or 5/16 all thread, cut it down to size, throw it in, and I thought that might be the best option. But then I started thinking, you know, there's a reason why, nobody, you have been collecting random crap over the years. Now, I have a box here full of old drill bits. If I find the right size, I can clean up one of these drill bits and put it in. Hardened tool steel would give plenty of support. If you find an old machinist that has high-speed steel bars or round bars, find the right size, that can work. Again, with the machinist, different reamers. I mean, there's literally nothing that you could not use as long as it's strong enough and it fits in the area that you want to put it, that you couldn't use. It's just got to be hard, and it's going to provide the support that you need. So I'm not going to use all thread. I am going to come through, find out of all this the piece that's going to fit and do what I need it to do. Now, as you can see, I did a little bit of work. And what I did is I took a 1/2 inch Forstner bit and I marked it with tape for my depth, which was a 1/2 inch. And I just popped holes. Now I'm just kind of cleaning everything out. That way everything has enough room. Now I'm not going to try to get this perfect, because I kind of like the idea of having some dimensionality that allows the epoxy to really bind into a bunch of different grooves and crevices and nooks and crannies. We can't forget about the nooks and crannies. So, but that'll help to really give a lot of surface area bonding to the stock, or at least that's how it works in my mind. Now, what I chose for my rod is actually this tapered reamer. So it starts off at about 3/8 and then drops down to about 1/4 up here at this end. So, which is kind of nice because this kind of tapers too. So I like the symmetry of the whole thing. I used a little ball on my Dremel, and I golf balled right around where the tang is going to be, so that way the epoxy has a surface to bite into. Also, I kind of scuffed up the inside surfaces of where the pillar is going to be. Same principle, so that way it has more surface area to adhere to. So I'm mixing up the Acroglass gel, which, by the way, I'm using the gel. And I'm probably using a lot more than what I need, but I wanted to make sure that I get most of this channel filled up. I'd hate to start this and not have enough. But, man, you know what? This stuff... You know when something first starts dying and it starts the whole decay process? It has that kind of little funk to it. That's what this stuff kind of smells like. Not quite, but as soon as it hit me, that's what it reminded me of. Oh, and it looks like pureed fat. Let's add some brown dye. Don't know how much I'm supposed to use. Maybe I'll stop right there for a second. They suggest mixing this for 4 minutes. And I can see why, because it wants to be kind of lumpy. Kind of baby poopy. I'm a little concerned that it's just kind of lumpy. Did I get a bad thing of it? Or is that normal? Okay, so I took a break and I read up to see what was going on. Some people were saying that this needs to be like 72 degrees. Well, it's been in my garage all day. It's the afternoon. It's 81 degrees outside. And it should have been temperature. Well, it should have been up to temperature. So when I went back to look at this after I set the containers outside, I started just mixing kind of slowly with it. And it actually started smoothing out, so I think this is going to be savable. Now, I'm not a fan of the color. It's actually, well, if you've ever had a newborn, it's kind of the color. But what I'm going to do is, since I'm just using this to put the bar in, or the reamer, and then the glass bedding, it's going to be okay. I'll mess more with the color when I actually bed the rest of it. But I think this will work. I was really nervous there for a second. I thought I just wasted a whole bunch of Acroglass. Now, this might be a crappy angle anyway. I'm sorry. But I'm going to put Acroglass into the slot, and I'm just going to push it in. And what I'm trying to do is get it to adhere nicely to the bottom. That way when that rod goes in, I don't have to worry about trying to squish stuff around it. It'll just settle right in. Yeah, I made way too much. Probably made enough to do this whole rifle. Some of you probably going, yep, nobody, you are 100% correct. All right, now we're going to set this guy in and press it into place. Now I'm forcing the Acroglass into the top of the reamer. Time is running out. Okay, so now I'm going to coat the pillars. I've already set up my height on these, so you just got to make sure that you don't change that while you're doing everything. Okay, now let's set this in. Going to have a little bit of squeeze out. If you're wondering if this is messy, yep, it sure is. Make sure you have your release agent everywhere. And I'll find out how good of a job I did on mine. Okay, so now I'm cleaning the squeeze out. Well, that's how much I overused. You pay for your education, and that's how much mine cost me. Which, in the grand scheme of things, not a super lot, but still, it's one of those things where it would have been nice if I wouldn't had to have paid for that. Something I just realized, it's only been about 10, 15 minutes or so, and probably just a little bit of thermal expansion of the epoxy just filling up the voids and everything, but I had some more squeeze out that I just took care of. So don't just set it and then run away, because you might get some squeeze out or expansion that kind of comes around and locks it in. So kind of check up on it every once in a while. Probably, I would say, for the first hour or so. After that, I would think that you gotta be okay, because you can't babysit this thing for 10 plus hours. So all that squeeze out, which I'm not sure if I'm done with the squeeze out, but you do definitely want to watch this for the first little bit, just to make sure that with that exothermic, the expansion of the epoxy as it hardens, to make sure that you don't lock this into place, which I'm still not convinced that I haven't locked it into place.
All right, so it's the next day. I just woke up, and just like Christmas morning, I had to rush out here to see how everything turned out. I'm a little nervous. I'm hoping I can get it apart. And apparently I'm rocking some bedhead. Nice. All right, so I'll tell you what's going on. I have a plug of epoxy right underneath that apparently has broken loose, and I'm trying to get it out, but it's acting as a washer as I'm trying to extract, and it's pulling up on the bottom plate. I might have to work on this for a bit.
Okay, so I'm making progress. I used a little bit of heat just on these little handles here. That way it expanded the metal and kind of helped break things loose. And the action came out, so that's really nice. The plug that was holding the front in was this little guy. He was sitting right like that. Now I'm working on this back screw and also this little spacer plate, and there was some squeeze out that came in between the trigger guard and that spacer plate, so it's kind of locking that in. So I'm trying to whittle that away so I can pop this thing out, because that screw is kind of locked in there right now. But I'm hoping if I can get this spacer plate out, I should just be able to pop the rest, or at least not have anything going up against, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to have magic happen. So, as you can see, I had a plug of Acraglass right there that I was fighting against. And there we go, the bottom of the trigger guard. I don't know if this is all normal or if it's just the joys of what I get to go through, but it's definitely a learning curve. Got some cleanup to do. But here's the underside. So pillars, got to clean up a little bit of squeeze out right there. But I will tell you that considering how much I started to initially fight this, I thought I royally screwed up. I'm gonna go comb my hair. So it's about go time. Now, let me show you what we're gonna be dealing with here. Gonna go ahead and finish filling out for the trigger guard, so that way we have a nice smooth area for that to rest on. Also, I'm gonna fill in the extra area right here to where the old safety used to be, because it used to bend out and take up a lot more room. With the new one, takes up less room. So we're going to fill in most of this area here. And then I roughed up the inside of the stock to where I'm going to be bedding, so that way the Acraglass has a good area for it to purchase to. And then I'm also kind of excited because if you look where the lug goes, it's actually quite a bit larger than the actual lug itself. So we're going to really lock up this action to give it a firmer bed to sit on. I probably have this a little browner than what I want. But as I was squeezing, it wasn't coming out, and then it was coming out. And I'm just filling in everywhere this is going to make contact. And I'm also pushing into the wood. You know, for folks who do this all the time, a lot of respect. To do this well definitely takes some practice. I don't think I got enough in the fore end. I know, it's getting to be a long video. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut out as much as I possibly can. I'll probably cut this part out too, or maybe I'll just leave it just to say that I'm sorry. Anyway, I got the action out of the stock. I had to work at it because the lug was actually in there pretty darn good. I had enough release agent. I didn't have to break anything. It was just super tight, and just with the shape of it, it was an effort. So that is good. Now let me show you how it looks. And this is it's my first time. Cut me some slack. But where the action goes, I think I did pretty good for a first time. You know, it's like professionals would look at it and go, yuck. I mean, it looks kind of crusty because it still has release agent and everything on it. But let's talk about the fore end. So yeah, I did not get enough on there, and I'm going to have to put some more in. So I'm going to be doing a round two. Plus, I noticed that up here towards the front, I have some hollow spots that I need to take care of and make sure I get filled in. So I'll be going through checking just to make sure that it's nice and solid. So that was something that I was worried about, but I was hoping that I could come back and do it after that. So I'm going to rough it all back up so that way it has a nice firm surface to grab onto, and we'll reset the action. But before I do that, I'm going to go through, I'm going to clean up all my surfaces and test fit everything and make sure that it's still working how I want. Oh, did you see this? This is my new little vise that I'm going to use for doing stuff like this. This is the Tipton Ultra Gun Vise, and it holds stuff in and has like little work trays and all that. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot better than using the lead sled and having this thing move around all over the place. But I'm sure you didn't notice. Well, Looks like it's going to be as good as it gets for this first attempt. Let me show you. I have a little bit of pitting, but I think that's because of the mix. Either that or the Acraglass release gel. I did something, maybe got a little too thick in certain areas or whatnot. But it's okay. I don't think it really messes with it too bad. This area was kind of funky just because on the barrel, that is where the rear sight was cut, as you can see. And trying to put the bedding tape right there was kind of squirrely, and I really couldn't get it to where it laid down nice. It has the clearance that I need. Now I just need to go through and clean up these edges and clean up the barrel and the action and the trigger guard and all my other metal pieces and get it ready for bluing. I'm actually going to do bluing now, but in another video. This video was long enough. I'm sorry if you stuck to it. You know, I really appreciate it, but I wanted to show you everything that I've gone through because maybe you could learn from my mistakes, and you know, that's what these videos are about, is one, learning, and also learning from my successes and my failures. And if I can help you get that much farther ahead, then perfect. You know, it's like, I've done my job that I don't get paid for. I've done my job, and it was a pleasure to do it for you. Hopefully this helped. And also, guys, if you're bedding experts and you've done a lot of these and you have simpler ways of doing stuff, I appreciate it if you put it down in the comments. And that way it could be useful for myself and for others, because I know this is not going to be the last rifle that I attempt to bed. Now that some of the mystery's gone, I'm going to do more. Thanks, guys.